future of the news. First of all, I want to introduce the speakers. Jane Barrett is Global Head of Multimedia at Reuters. Francesco Marconi, it's the Research and Development Director at Wall Street Journal, and Christoph Schmidt, Deputy Global News Director at AFP. Io farò una breve introduzione prima di dare la parola ai colleghi e la farò in italiano perché posso andare più in profondità nel focus della mia presentazione, che riguarda soprattutto il mobile. Noi ci stiamo interrogando su cosa accadrà nei prossimi 5 anni nel mondo dell'informazione, nel mondo delle notizie. Dobbiamo partire, scusate che controllo il tempo perché poi immagino ci saranno anche delle domande da parte del pubblico. Credo che dobbiamo partire da una constatazione di fatto che è sotto gli occhi di tutti. Noi siamo passati dall'era della scarsità, cioè dall'era nella quale le notizie erano un bene molto scarso e quindi doveva essere cercato, all'era dell'abbondanza. Noi stiamo vivendo negli ultimi 20 anni l'era nella quale le notizie sono forse anche più di quelle che sarebbero necessarie per capire il contesto nel quale viviamo. Questo ha portato a un profondo cambiamento nelle redazioni. Fino a 20 anni fa, tutti noi che abbiamo iniziato a fare il giornalismo nell'era, diciamo, pre-web e pro-internet, le redazioni erano spopolate, ci stavano il direttore, i capi, tutti gli altri erano fuori, anzi gli altri erano fuori con l'obbligo di trovare almeno 2 o 3 notizie al giorno perché se no non si riempivano i giornali. Le news avevano un grande valore, ce n'erano poche, venivano vendute. Poi improvvisamente le redazioni si sono popolate, sono piene di giornalisti che filtrano e rilanciano notizie che arrivano su Facebook, su Twitter, sul web e così via. Queste notizie rilanciate hanno un effetto di omogenizzazione dell'informazione. Noi vediamo quasi notizie ripetute tutte uguali sui vari media e in qualche modo le ha trasformate in una commodity, in qualcosa che è difficile vendere, perché se io posso trovare lo stesso prodotto in tutti i posti, nella stessa maniera, è difficile che poi scelga qualcosa che sia disposto a pagare per averlo. La cosa ridicola, ed è uno dei motivi per cui abbiamo trasformato AGI in un'agenzia mobile first, la cosa ridicola è che stiamo tutti nelle redazioni e poi io quando devo chiedere qualcosa al desk digital piuttosto che al desk esteri o alle cronache, non è che mi alzo e vado a parlare con i colleghi, uso le chat di lavoro, scrivo sulla chat dal mio ufficio, dobbiamo coprire questa notizia, dobbiamo mandare uno qua, dobbiamo stare attenti, qua sta per uscire questa cosa, quindi paradossalmente stiamo tutti nelle redazioni perché la nostra testa è nata e fatta per lavorare in redazione, ma la redazione è diventata obsoleta. Non abbiamo bisogno di stare più in redazione per fare il nostro lavoro. Dall'altra parte che cosa abbiamo visto? Che cosa vediamo? Perché poi il futuro è già qua. Vediamo che il 70-80% dei nostri utenti accedono all'informazione attraverso il mobile. Allora il mobile è diventato il device più utilizzato per leggere le notizie, per informarsi, guardare i video, le foto, e noi usiamo i vecchi strumenti per fare quel lavoro, per distribuire quelle notizie. Questo è stato l'elemento che ci ha convinti, un anno fa, più di un anno fa, a rimettere al centro delle news il mobile, lo smartphone. Che cosa abbiamo fatto? Abbiamo preso il nostro CMS, il Content Management System, Columbus, abbiamo con il partner di Share che ovviamente col quale collaboriamo a questo sviluppo, e abbiamo detto dobbiamo costruire un sistema editoriale integrato che funzioni direttamente dal cellulare. Ovviamente dal cellulare, da tablet, da desktop, da tutti gli strumenti in mobilità, ma prevalentemente dal cellulare. Abbiamo così creato 2 app che sono già disponibili. Una, la prima, che si chiama Agi Editor, è l'app interna che usano i nostri giornalisti, dove i giornalisti possono semplicemente aprire l'app, hanno tutto il notiziario, quindi vedano cosa si sta facendo, cosa l'agenzia sta rilanciando, possono aprire l'app, cliccare un pulsante, dettare il testo, quindi il nostro giornalista che oggi qua segue il dibattito può direttamente dettare quello che sta avvenendo e inviare direttamente sul notiziario la notizia in tempo reale. Non solo la notizia, può inviare attraverso l'app sul notiziario le foto e gli eventuali video di quello che sta accadendo. Dall'altra parte abbiamo detto, se noi riportiamo al centro il mobile e utilizziamo il mobile come principale primo strumento di lavoro, dobbiamo creare un'app che consenta ai nostri clienti e utenti di poter lavorare con lo smartphone, con il cellulare in mobilità. L'app, peraltro, forse qualcuno di voi l'ha vista alla newsroom di Agi, all'Hotel Brufani, è scaricabile gratuitamente in test per 2 mesi. E che cosa consente? Consente di avere tutto il notiziario Agi, non solo di avere il notiziario Agi, ma di entrare nei testi, editarli, quindi il giornalista che riceve le nostre notizie può entrare nel testo, editarle, cambiarle, allegare foto e video e inviarle direttamente alla propria testata. Ovviamente, oltre a controllare e leggere il notiziario, ha tutta una serie di sistemi di alert per cui può mettere delle parole chiave. Se fosse qua potrebbe mettere i nomi degli speaker, potrebbe mettere la parola chiave news, quello che uno ritiene, e ricevere in modalità push sul cellulare le notizie via via che escono. Questo ovviamente che cosa comporta? Comporta una maggiore velocità in mobilità nella distribuzione delle news. Questo passaggio che si è per Agi appena concluso, nel senso che le app sono disponibili sia per i clienti sia internamente per i nostri giornalisti, ha ovviamente una visione che guarda ai prossimi anni, è un processo culturale, quindi ha bisogno di un certo periodo di decantazione, ma l'obiettivo, lo scopo qual è? È di tornare a fare quello che è il lavoro del giornalista, che non è stare a una scrivania e rilanciare, non è solo stare a una scrivania e rilanciare quello che i politici, i leader, gli economisti, gli scienziati raccontano sulla rete, sui social, perché questo purtroppo sta accadendo sempre di più. C'è la dichiarazione di Salvini, c'è la dichiarazione di Renzi, c'è la dichiarazione di Di Maio, tu la vedi arrivare su Twitter, la prendi, la rilanci, ha detto e nessuno si muove più, nessuno sta più sul territorio. Ma quello che noi abbiamo visto con Riccardo Luna, e scusate non è qui, sarebbe dovuto essere lui a condurre questo panel, ma è dovuto partire e non è presente, abbiamo visto in questi 2 anni di direzione di Agi che ciò per cui siamo apprezzati dai nostri clienti non è il numero di notizie che rilanciamo uguali a tutte le altre agenzie, ma è esattamente ciò che noi facciamo di originale, di qualità, di approfondito, che è diverso da tutti gli altri. Ecco perché siamo convinti che nel futuro delle news ci debba essere anche un ritorno alla funzione primaria dell'agenzia, quella di trovare le notizie di prima mano. Quindi il processo che affronteremo da qui alla fine dell'anno sarà quello di costruzione all'interno dell'agenzia di un desk forte di capi redattori in grado di smistare e di svolgere tutto il lavoro di desk e di rimandare fuori con questo strumento editoriale tutti i giornalisti in modo che possano alimentare direttamente il notiziario dai luoghi dove le notizie avvengono, dove i fatti si manifestano. Questo è, come dire, una delle tante scelte obbligate alle quali, se pensiamo al futuro delle news, ci troviamo davanti, perché non c'è dubbio che il mantra degli ultimi 10 anni e sicuramente dei prossimi 10 continuerà a essere fare di più e meglio con meno. Questo è, come dire, non una scelta editoriale strategica, ma è una scelta dettata da una crisi dell'editoria che, come tutti sappiamo, persiste ormai da 10 anni. E allora, se dobbiamo fare più con meno, dobbiamo approfondire tutti quegli strumenti che oggi permettano di liberare il nostro lavoro da regole, non direi da regole, ma da abitudini ormai superate che la tecnologia ci ha permesso di superare, e credo che uno degli asset fondamentali di un'agenzia moderna, dell'agenzia del futuro, di un'agenzia che voglia veramente guidare la trasformazione nel futuro delle news, debba essere che se fino a ieri noi siamo stati solo e principalmente dei venditori di notizie, cioè un'agenzia che creava notizie e le vendeva ai clienti, da oggi noi vogliamo e siamo un'agenzia che vende notizie, contenuti, che rimangono ovviamente l'asset principale, e tecnologia insieme. È questa la svolta che in AGE abbiamo individuato per essere un'agenzia al passo coi tempi e che sappia soprattutto affrontare le sfide future. Io sono stato, mi pare, nel mio quarto d'ora, e quindi darei la parola ai colleghi. Possiamo partire con Jane Barrett, Global Head of Multimedia Reuters, che ci parlerà credo dei cambiamenti nell'audience.
I will, but I'm going to do it in English. So I apologize to
She
the
speaks
translator,
Italian very well, eh?
but I'm not going to do the presentation. I'll chat in Italian afterwards, but the presentation I'll do in English. I'm going to run through some of the tendencies that we're seeing at Reuters when we go out to speak to our clients. So as you know, Reuters is the biggest independent news agency in the world. And we serve clients from the very large US companies to small startups in countries around Asia. We speak to them regularly, and we feel that it's most useful for us to give you a sense of what they're talking about rather than just what I think. So we're just going to run through today 5 quick points, just to give you a little bit of a sense, really, of how we're seeing things from today up to about 5 years' time. And then I think Francesco is going to be taking us out into the further future. So we'll go in the way that time goes. So first of all, the future platforms. Probably most of you in this room have been stuck at some stage over the last 2 days in front of a television or in front of your mobile or watching on social Mark Zuckerberg's testimony to the US Congress. And we have seen in these last 2 months or so a huge bruise in the trust that we have in social media. People are being made to stop and think, what's happening with my data? How am I being used on social? And what is the relationship, therefore, that news publishers will have with social media? So a couple of facts for you there from last month. Under 50% of Americans now trust Facebook to comply with privacy regulations. And about 60% in Germany will say that social media is having a bad effect in society. So those are quite dramatic and bad statistics if you're in the news business on social. However, at the same time, in that very same week, Facebook's usage didn't drop. So I think we've got an interesting moment where we're all talking about social media and what is the future of platforms, but at the same time, the user base is still there. So crisis, no crisis. Let's see how we go. At the end of the day, when you look at social, it still gives you an unprecedented reach that nothing else does. In no other way can you reach a global audience and also target a micro audience. If you want to speak to people between the ages of 25 and 35 in Milan, you can target your news like that on social media, and it costs you nothing in terms of extra delivery. But if you want to send stories out about Italian politics, which no one else understands outside of Italy, to the entire world, you're most likely to do it through social media. So it gives you an unprecedented reach. And it also is a place to find tomorrow's audience. Tomorrow's audience is not sitting reading newspapers or watching telly. Looking around this room, I'm guessing that most of this room does not sit watching telly or reading newspapers. We're all online, we're all looking at social. So it's there, it's here to stay. And actually, in my most positive moments, I think that what's been happening over these last couple of months will actually end up being incredibly positive for us all, because it's making publishers now stop and think, well, what is my relationship with Facebook? What is my relationship with Google? What is my relationship with Twitter? And whereas before publishers were sort of panting to get onto social media and wanting to have all of our content there for reach alone, we're now stopping to think, actually, we're not going to let the platforms dictate. We're going to have much better partnerships. We're going to suggest things. We're going to make sure our voice is heard. And we actually have some power here, because right now, certain social media platforms need trust, and we bring much more trust than a neutral platform. And I also think it causes us all to stop and think a little bit. Why are we doing this? And there are lots of perfectly legitimate answers. So I was speaking to one former newspaper group, now obviously digital, in the UK about 3 weeks ago, and their head of digital said to me, for us, social is all about reach. We have about 75% reach in the adult population online in the UK, and that's what we want, because that allows us to improve our advertising on our own platforms. Fantastic, great, reach for them. For the FT, Renee is speaking here at the International Journalism Festival. She will tell you that social is a way of getting people to click back into the site and subscribe. So her metrics are subscriptions and payments. Great, two totally different models, perfectly legitimate, both of them, but it's making us stop and think we can't just be scattergun, we have to have a strategy. What does it mean for an agency like Reuters? Well, as we know, social relies on identity and engagement, and Reuters is a global news organization, so we can't possibly tell the story of every identity group in the world. So what we're working with our clients to do at the moment is to think about what are the new sorts of stories, the new sorts of formats that they want us to produce news in, and then change that so we have new forms of content, but then give it to them very much to put their own angle on it, their own branding on it, their own particular take on it in order to drive engagement. So even though we're not necessarily going directly to consumers trying to get identity patterns, our clients are, so it allows us then to back them and support them doing that. The reason I think that it's very important and very positive that we have a good relationship with the platforms that's a much more positive and relationship of equals as far as possible is because they're not going away. You know, one of the biggest things that our clients talk to us about at the moment is the rise of voice. And if you look at what the devices are, it's Amazon, Alexa, it's Google Home. We're expecting Facebook to come out with something in the next month. It's Apple, Siri. So we've got, you know, if we're going to be playing in voice, it's going to be a platform play again. So we need to make sure that we have the right conversations. And it's really interesting. I mean, ComScore has a very, very bullish view. They reckon 50% of searches will be voice by 2020, which is only 2 years away. Others say 2023, others say 2025, but it's clearly coming much, much, much faster than a lot of people have been betting. And that's fascinating for us within the news business, because audio is something we've done, you know, since my grandfather was a boy, he listened to the radio. So we know how to do content in audio, but really now it becomes a technology challenge. Because if you aren't typing in a search and altering it a little bit to get it exactly right, if you're just speaking to an Alexa or to a Google Home, the metadata and the artificial intelligence behind that search in a zero UI world has to be much more advanced than maybe we've got it to at the moment. So we're seeing now a lot of technologists and journalists working really closely together to get ready for this world of search and AI. For us on the content side, as I say, the old becomes new. So producing sound for our agency clients, and then also if you're in America and you ask Alexa for the news, one of the key skills is Reuters TV done as an audio file. So it gives us another opportunity to learn about what works in audio, so that then we can help our media clients to navigate this new yet old world. This one probably needs no introduction. I think we are all living this. We have a little play with some of our internal focus groups, and we ask them which one's the TV station. So I'll give you a little bit of time to work it out. And the answer is it's a trick question, because none of them is a TV station. They are all former newspapers or digital natives that now have a large TV group. One of them, I think the one just above my head here, is the Washington Post. And the Washington Post has more than 100 people working in their video department. And it's got the word post in it. It's an old newspaper. So it's a really interesting thing to see how skills are changing, because digital, as we all probably know in this room, video is so key for engagement, very key for revenue generation and monetization. And a few quick pointers from Reuters. We launched a new live service back in October, and we have devised it specifically so that it works incredibly well for digital clients and as well as for broadcast clients. And we'll be making some announcements in the next few days around some new additions and services for social around that, so keep your eyes open. And we do see just a huge amount of engagement from live. As you can see from our own social media editor, she says that our lives just take off. We've had a 100% increase. We've doubled our live stream usage from our clients in 1 year. And just since the new live service was launched, which was only 6 months ago, we've seen a 58% increase. So it seems like the appetite is voracious, and it gives us a huge amount of ability now to think, okay, so what new stuff do people want to watch? People will accuse me at Reuters of dumbing things down, because occasionally I like zoo photos and things, because they do really well on digital. One of our most used, one of the world's most used lives last year was April the giraffe, who wouldn't give birth. You know, she was just like pregnant for ages, and finally she gave birth. It's a lot of new sorts of things that people are enjoying watching live on their mobiles, or just tapping into. What's happening? In Britain, we had an amazing one. Only the Brits could get excited about people crossing a puddle. I know puddle in Italian, that's one I do know. But yeah, so it's really odd things that people are doing in terms of life that actually work. And yesterday was kind of a prime example. So as you can see on the left there of that screen, that was the Washington Post live out with split screens, again, a broadcast way of doing things. We were pumping down, I think, 4 lives simultaneously. So they had 2 of our lives, but then they also had a desk of people chatting about it, and then they were showing the journalists at the Post doing their work. The Guardian got, I think, over 2 million views across social and online, and all coming from the Reuters live service. And then longer form, it's interesting. When I started this job 2 years ago, most of the clients were saying that about 49 seconds was about the right length for a digital video. And now we're seeing many, many more people going much longer, partly because people are used to watching long form now on their mobiles, partly because it helps monetization. You can put in a mid-roll ad and people don't mind so much, but also just partly because storytelling is changing. It's changing so fast. If you want now to go for a quick snack size, you might go to Snapchat, whereas actually you might want to sit on YouTube for much longer and watch a longer piece of journalism. And vice versa. So what used to work predominantly on social, so lots of the UGC type stuff and a lot of the lighter news, now works incredibly well on TV, and people are expecting it on TV. I'm going to stop there because I could talk about the other 2 points, but we might come back to those later, and I'll pass across to Francesco.
Thank you very much, Jen, for your speech. And Francesco, maybe a question is very important for the future of the news. Take my hand.
Oh, thank you. And I'll start by addressing something that you said, which was very interesting, which is this idea that we are living in an oversupplied news market. So Everyone is competing in the same space. As Jane mentioned, TV is competing with newspapers are competing with digital and social media, and individuals as creators. So that means that as news organizations, we must compete with both volume and differentiation. So volume, so we can provide choice to news consumers, and differentiation to compete against other news organizations in the space. Artificial intelligence is just one tool that can enable accomplishing those two goals, volume and differentiation. But the reality is that the human journalist is still in control. And in fact, I would go as far as saying that we are living a human moment, not a technology moment. And that means, in a way, that it's crucial to think about this idea of cultural transformation, specifically bringing science to the art of storytelling. And what that means is, similarly to the scientific process where we research, we develop an hypothesis, we experiment, we collect data, and we learn from it, we need to apply that same way of thinking to newsrooms. The problem with that is that as journalists, we are trained to only produce and only showcase our work when it's absolutely perfect, when we have checked our sources, when we have developed quality control on the content. And so the idea of piloting, experimenting, and iterating needs to go inside the newsroom. Journalists need to be comfortable with failing, and the leadership in newsrooms needs to provide space for their reporters, for their colleagues to apply this idea of experimentation and the culture of research. Specifically on artificial intelligence, I could share many different examples. I'm sure you're all familiar with what's possible from automation to augmentation, but I just want to stress one thing, which is the introduction of artificial intelligence in newsrooms is very similar to the introduction of the typewriter in newsrooms in the 1940s and 1950s. It started with a lot of reluctancy to adopt, but eventually journalists and reporters saw that using this tool, this new technology at the time, the typewriter, would actually allow you to increase productivity. Of course, there are other considerations, such as the change in the workflow, in how people work together, and specifically how humans and machines collaborate. So it's again, just to stress that AI is just another tool. The principle is that a tool should be used to solve a problem. And again, it's very important to put the human journalist at the center of the process, because all of these changes and shifts that we are seeing in the digital space are driven by alterations in behavior, in culture, in society. I want to show you a specific type of strategic exercise that we conduct to think about the future and to think about technology and putting the human at the center of the process. That exercise is called future casting. Just a quick raise of hands. Is anyone familiar with future casting? Right, great. So future casting is essentially expanding or extrapolating certain trends and developing them to the extreme, and developing future hypothetical scenarios that you'll see are a bit strange, but if you work through the mindset that you're already in the future, and then you work backwards to think about what are the changes that I need to implement in my news organization to compete in that future, then that's when you are able to develop a strategy. And I know this is very conceptual, so I'll just show you what I mean. Maybe. All right, so what we did was to develop four future scenarios. Each one expands an existing trend to the maximum, and we create essentially an hypothetical view of the world. So the first scenario, it's called pandas and puppies, and maybe I'll just, if you don't mind. Can you hear me well? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, is there a mic? Otherwise, is there a problem? So I can. Sorry. Okay. Otherwise, nice. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. So the first scenario is called pandas and puppies, and this is the idea of all the media consumption and distribution is being done through the platform. So imagine a future where the news production, the news distribution happens only on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Snapchat. And essentially thinking about this future and then working backwards to define what the role of the journalist is in this environment. And so you can start realizing some important principles specifically around the importance of fact-checking, user-generated content, and other forms of working on these social platforms. So again, we imagine a future where the only way of doing news is through social media. And then we have journalists working out through these scenarios. We say, now you live in this future, what do you do? And this is a way of developing new solutions. A second example, it's called the self-gathering news, and this is specifically around the growth of artificial intelligence and automation. So think about a scenario where a mogul like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos creates a network of drones, of sensors that is collecting data and information 24/7, and this represents 80% of all the news that is produced in the world, all driven by AI, all driven by sensors, all driven by smart machines. And in that role where machines seem to take over, what's the role of the journalist, right? And so that elevates the importance of understanding technology, of journalists becoming more than storytellers, becoming information officers. So an example of solutions or ideas that have emerged from working in this future scenario are things related to data-to-text automation, using machine learning for investigative journalism, using sensors to generate real-time information. The third step, second to last, has to do with change consumption related to the growth of context-aware devices. Jane mentioned one of the most important of those trends, which is voice, but also think about other Internet of Things platforms such as your smart car, your refrigerator. What happens to the role of the journalist when the distribution or the majority of the distribution is done through those platforms? The editor on the other side is no longer a journalist, is a machine. So we are creating journalism to machine content. So a very important scenario to think through the growth of the Internet of Things. Last scenario that I have to show you has to do with the change of business models. Again, the concept, remember, all of these hypothetical scenarios are meant to extrapolate existing trends and then really expand them into the future and create an extreme scenario where you as a news organization need to thrive. The third scenario is related to the business model. So what happens if suddenly advertising goes away? What can you do? And this speaks to the concept of diversifying the business models. There's a big shift to micropayments, paywalls, and essentially how to create premium experiences that are worth paying for. Again, just wanted to show you these 4 scenarios in this exercise. These are just 4. There are many. This is a way of thinking about the future. It's impossible to predict the future, but we can take trends that are impactful and then think about how to respond to them. So now I'll hand you the mic, or you can use this one.
Is that for me? Yes. Hi. So, like Marco said, I work for AFP, which was primarily the French news agency, and which is one of the international news agencies now. And I must say, it was comforting to listen to my colleagues and to see that we all share the same questions and we all try to work in the same directions to develop live images, to try to reflect on artificial intelligence and what it can bring to the audiences, because we also all share the same challenging environment, just not to dampen the mood, but it's a market turned really upside down. The environment is not only competitive, but most of the value created by the media goes to the GAFAs, and the business models are very fragile, like and that's probably why you chose to become journalist or to stay in journalism. So I'll just focus maybe on what it means for us, news agency and newsroom. What is the daily experience of living through all these changes that have been brought, and mainly the 2 bigger ones, which is, like Marco said, the shift to the mobile consumption of the news, and second, the social media. So maybe first, the mobile. For ages, we news agencies have been gathering news in a continuous way. Now we have to do this live, which is something quite different and which implies big changes in our organization. And the bigger impact is on format, like it has been said. Today, every media is multimedia. The Washington Post has 100 people working on video. Every radio must have an app, etc. It has strong implications for us. That means that we plan our coverage from scratch, thinking about not only text but photo. Maybe we should talk also about picture, because it's still a very important media, graphics as well, etc. For our clients, it means also when you have images, you need to plan a bit more ahead. So we have developed tools that help them plan the coming events better. In terms of editing the news, we are in the process of merging all of our desks. We used to have like others, text desks, photo desks, video desks, and it's a big shift, even socially, I must say, in the newsroom. People have to adjust very quickly to the change. But one thing has helped us is that people in the newsroom, journalists themselves, have come to realize in little time that a news that doesn't have image has just become invisible in the mobile environment. It just doesn't make sense anymore to think text only, or for that matters, image only as well. So visual content drive the news. And that's why, like others, we have developed live video, 360 photo and video, data visualization, interactive graphics, and the like. This doesn't mean we should go for video or for picture or for all the media together each time, because for different reasons, because some stories are better told by a simple graphic that is a good explainer, for instance. And also because sending people on the ground to make pictures or videos has a cost. It's very costly. We are back to the difficult environment for our clients that I've described earlier. So it's all part of what the media have to do now is to make choices all the time. Like Marco said earlier, we come from a time when news was scarce, was difficult to gather, and that was the beginning of the news agencies, by the way, almost 2 centuries ago. Now we have to make choices all the time. Another thing that we didn't really plan ahead is that mobile is also a tool for news gathering. At AFP, we used to have a strong text culture, so most of the head of bureaus were people coming from the text. 2 years ago, we have picked someone coming from photo to head the Mexico bureau. The first thing is done was to equip everybody in the office with iPhones and with small apps on the iPhones, and telling them if something happens that you deem relevant, just train yourself. And that, and then I think it was last September, there was this huge earthquake in Mexico, and everybody in the bureau made good images. Everybody became a reporter all of a sudden. So that's also something that has changed the way we work. And lastly, of course, people could say that since everybody has a mobile in his pocket, a mobile phone is in his pocket, everybody could say he's a journalist. And that leads us to user-generated content. Of course, media organizations and, according to me, mainly news agencies have a special responsibility to verify, to certify that these images are true, are honest, and are relevant. But it's just a reality. And for us at AFP, you know, our headquarters are in Paris. And for us at AFP, it became obvious in one day. In January 2015, on the Charlie Hebdo attacks, which happened less than 1 kilometer away from our headquarters, we were able, obviously, to send dozens of photographers on the ground in a few minutes. But there was one picture that was the most shared all around the world, and that was the picture of this poor policeman who had been shot while lying on the street. And it was all over the front pages from most newspapers of the world. And this picture had been taken by someone living there from his balcony. So that was that helped us realize what really happened then. Obviously, UGC transformed the media workflow in depth. We need to allow more and more resources on watching Twitter, watching Facebook, which we treat as sources. And this leads me to, if I have a few more minutes, to social media, which is the second big revolution that we all experience, but that as media we experience maybe more than others in the professional field. I mean, 10 or 15 years ago, when Facebook started, the motto was that news agencies would gradually become irrelevant, and that they would be made history by social media. Because if you can have breaking news for free everywhere, if you can share news quicker than any media could do, why would you pay for a service, a very costly service that sends people everywhere, but that quite often is not the first to break the news? And as you have been able to notice in recently, we have actually become more relevant and probably more needed in this environment. And as for us at AFP, but like others, I think like the AP, for instance, has done with Facebook in the United States, we have made some partnerships. We have made through the Google Digital Initiative and through Facebook as well to do fact checking for them, and we invest as much as we can in innovative tools to be able to check video, to check pictures, and to have people almost everywhere being able to gather the news. Another thing is that, which is maybe specific to news agencies, is that the customer base for many of our traditional clients is getting smaller. Newspaper circulation is getting smaller, for instance. And as for the younger people, it's not just that they enter the news through image more than text. It's that many of them use news sources that are not traditional. Some of them are serious, many of them are not. But it's very difficult for our clients to and for us to reach them, and so the social media is a good way, is a way to address everybody.
Thank you, Christophe. We got 10, 15 minutes more if there is some question from the audience. Okay, there.
Hi, hello. My question is for AFP and Reuters. Do you foresee a future where UGC replace your job in the field?
Shall I go first? It has increased hugely. And as Christophe says, in big breaking news stories, very often the UGC pieces will be the most used. I would give you the example of the Westminster Bridge attack in London last year. And we happened to have a photographer taking photographs on the South Bank of the Houses of Parliament. It was a stormy day, and he had been assigned to go down and take pictures of dark clouds behind the Houses of Parliament for Brexit stories. And he was there, and if he had arrived 5 minutes later, he might not be here anymore. And he was one of the first responders to one of the men who died. And when he realized that this wasn't just an accident, this was an attack, he was shooting photographs. And so we had the first break on the story, we had the first photographs on the story, the first ever thing came from Reuters. Poor guy, I mean, Toby, lived through a horrible experience, but we were first with that. But the piece of his content that did the very best was when he whipped out his mobile phone and he just held it at chest height and he was just running down the bridge. And it's shaky and it's badly framed. It was shot by one of our guys, but that was used by about, I think it was 3 times more clients than the next best thing, which was beautifully shot. So I think there's a place for both, but I definitely think that when in breaking news, people want to be there. People want to see it. People want to check what it was like themselves. So it's an increasingly large part. Do I think it's going to replace everything? I don't, no, because I don't see any citizen journalist wanting to go and cover all of the other stories that we do, and particularly not the investigative stories that we do, and the important times where we have to pay, for example. We would not want to encourage people to take personal risks to go and get some of the stuff that we do professionally with security, for example. There are a lot of pieces that we will shoot that no citizen journalist is going to have interest in, but they are interested in looking at. But I think it's definitely a mixture, and we've increased, last year we increased our UGC verification and clearing team so that it's now 24/7. I think they speak between them about 21 languages, so they're clearing things in lots of different languages, and is around the world. So that's a sign that we believe it's a huge and increasingly important part of storytelling and journalism. I think it will continue to be a mixture of the two.
Some other question? Yes, please.
Maybe could you explain a bit more about your future casting experiment? I mean, you did a quick rundown of these extreme scenarios, but what did you actually derive from working with those scenarios in terms of strategies for news organizations? So what's the practical application of the tool?
So just to give you context, these scenarios which seem very relevant today, those were developed 4 years ago, just to give you a sense. It's used as a strategic planning tool to come up with new tools, new approaches to storytelling. And I can give you a few examples. The scenario of self-gathering news, if you remember, has to do with the growth of artificial intelligence, of automation, then led us to, when I was at the AP, to develop the strategy for automation. And generally speaking, the strategy for automation focuses on all new content that is created in the future, or I should say 80% of all new content that is created, so new content, not existing content, would likely be automated. The 80% automated, 20% developed by human through traditional methods. But the big breakthrough is that then we need to shift resources, that 80% of journalists' time should be devoted at the 20% premium content, to speak again to the idea of volume and differentiation. So that's one outcome that came from that one scenario, which is let's launch automation efforts, and you might be familiar with data to text automation. Then another example is the pandas and puppies scenario, which is the growth of social media. Everything is done through the platforms, led to the creation of, similarly to Reuters, to a social media desk that works 24/7 around the world, and the staffing of that desk, as well as identifying tools that help validate user-generated content. So it's just an exercise to, instead of looking at market numbers that the advertising market is going to grow X%, it's looking at cultural and social shifts and working from there.
More question? Somebody want to ask something? Qualcuno vuole fare una domanda? Avete qualche dubbio, riflessioni? Certo, mi pare che il tema che emerga un po' da tutti gli interventi sia proprio quello di, individuare le strade che oggi, grazie alla tecnologia, ci consentono appunto di mantenere alto il livello e la qualità della produzione, comprimendo i tempi di produzione, comprimendo i costi di produzione. Noi stiamo anche come Agi lavorando a Videomate, che è un progetto che abbiamo avviato grazie a Google D&I, che è proprio un progetto di automazione per i video. I video sono cari, costano, creare un video ha un costo importante per gli editori, e stiamo elaborando anche questo tool, questa tecnologia che permetterà, dato un testo, delle immagini, dei video, di creare in maniera automatizzata o semi-automatizzata dei video che i nostri clienti potranno utilizzare, ma creare loro stessi. Quindi di nuovo il tema torna a essere quello, cioè oggi il compito soprattutto di un'agenzia che, appunto, come ricordava Cristoforo, è nata 200 anni fa per aiutare gli editori a abbattere i costi e avere più notizie quando le notizie erano scarse. Oggi forse il vero ruolo dell'agenzia è continuare a creare notizie originali e di prima mano, ma abbinare a queste anche la tecnologia abilitante per gli editori, che gli permetta di avere prodotti sempre più di qualità da poter vendere con costi sempre più bassi e con soprattutto un workflow, quindi un impegno di lavoro sempre più fluido e ottimizzato. Se no, dice sì anche Jane, quindi siamo di Jane.
E non soltanto è un costo più basso, ma anche, cioè, più rapido, no? Cioè,
Esatto.
un programma di software può controllare tantissime date che un giornalista tarderebbe, non so, 3 settimane, 3 mesi, non so, fare. Allora, cioè, la tecnologia è assolutamente fondamentale.
Bene, se non ci sono altre domande direi che possiamo chiudere qua. Grazie a tutti per aver partecipato a questo panel. Grazie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sempre stanco dopo.
Questa è l'adrenalina.